There we go. Just pan around. Everyone say hi to Michelle and who's it? And Shinge. Is it Shinga or Shinge? Shinga. Okay, I'll never get that right. So my apologies to her. So yeah, so sorry about not having a video from last week. It's because of technical problems that I will try to overcome this week. And honestly, this whole study abroad thing will be the death of me. Although I understand this is like an awesome, who's done it? Or has anyone done study abroad previously? For you guys? Yeah? It's awesome, right? I mean, I would imagine. I've never did it. I never had that opportunity. And so, you know, good on you guys. It's just that the requirement of having to still include students studying abroad as part of this this workshop course is it's like mind-blowing in terms of like, well, how's that supposed to work? It works as best as I can get it to go. Let's see. So let me orient myself on what are we doing today? Oh yeah. I know I had some notes. So we're getting actually a little closer, a little more in touch with a structured workshop type of 2-credit course, especially compared to what we did last week, which was kind of a free-for-all. But that was still very interesting. Thank you very much for that discussion. But at the end of the day, actually, let me get this fired up. We've got to work on this at this point, for the next couple of weeks, actually maybe just a week or two, doing this, what we call a proof of concept. And I, went on about that. The concept of that is just not even a prototype, not even a demo. It's just to prove to ourselves, yes, we can do that. Yes, we can, kind of thing. To do that, we just need to go through a couple steps. And so actually I have some slides. Like I said, this is going to be a little more structured, so you can go back to our course documentation page, which is linked in our course documentation section of Slack. There's always a link there, so you can find your way back here. And there you'll see, yep, there's this proof of concept demo is one of the things that we're working on, and there will be a deliverable for next Friday. So I want you guys to actually do some work regarding this. Regarding DMS 371 in between these Fridays, as opposed to just showing up here, which is, thank you for doing that, but we got some stuff to do here. So, let's see. Where's my mouse? Here we go. Alrighty. So, let me actually put this back up here too, which I also just republished this short URL. Oh, come on. Let me just do it this way. Oof. This thing. So, I took your input. Thank you very much for signing up. I just sorted things based on, as you see there, the idea with the most amount of traction is the food trucker app, so I put that up at the top there, and then there's all these other ideas here, kind of filtering down through the list. Keeping in mind there that as for a lot of these things, as I keep on saying, is that nothing's set in stone here. We can continue to still come up with new ideas or variations on the ideas that we came up with. And now even this, where you're signing up to basically what I'm now going to call a proof of concept demo team. So you kind of have to draw a line in the sand here and say, okay, I'm going to work on this one. But even that's not set in stone. But we do have to kind of do something today, which means making one decision, at least for today, something which I did not anticipate, which was so many of you signed up for multiple ideas, which I guess I didn't anticipate, but we just need to work around that. So for today, you need to pick one. But again, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be married to this thing. It's not a long-term commitment. But for today, you need to pick one, okay? In that, I mean, you don't necessarily delete yourself off a list. I mean, continue to show it. In fact, yeah, you don't need to update this, but what I'm going to ask you, actually, let me toggle over to my slides here, and let's see, start this up. Is that working? Yep. So that's where we are today. Let's see, anything here? All right, so teams. You need to pick one team today, okay? Let me make sure that this, let me make sure this is already, hasn't already crapped out. Just a sec. Hello, test, test, yes. Okay, so far so good. All right, so every team needs a team lead, and just keep in mind, by team lead, it just means it's someone that I can turn to as the communicator or the point person for any particular idea. Now, the idea team lead doesn't even have to be the originator. It just needs to be one of you. I guess typically it might be the originator, but as going back to that list, yeah, I'm not going to toggle back to it, but yeah, I mean, take a look at the list. I mean, I listed the originator of the idea, and in some cases, as you see, as you go down the list, the originator has decided to actually, not be on, I don't know how to say this politely. It's like the originator has bailed on their own idea, not necessarily, but at least didn't put their name on that next to their idea. Which means someone else can kind of take it over if you're interested. But again, all of these decisions are up to you about who does this, but at the end of the day, someone needs to be the point person for each idea that you want to talk about today. And then what we need to do actually with you guys here, with basically for whoever we have today, if you would actually, you need to kind of uproot yourselves and kind of coalesce around teams. Pick a product that you are interested in and just sit together, because you're going to need to do a little workshop activity today. So, yeah. So actually, let me actually go back to this spreadsheet. So actually, since there are relatively few, and by the way, for the people who aren't here, they did I think everyone contacted me to say like they're sick, job interview, Passover. Sick, yeah, well, I think some of that, I may have given, I'm very sensitive about anyone saying that they're sick for this past week or two. I think I'm starting to first get over my own little illnesses, possibly today. But in any case, because we have kind of a reduced set here, actually let's take an inventory. Who is here? I'm just scanning through the list here. Based on who is here, I think is going to drive the decisions that you make of what workshop you work with today, okay? Which again, can change next week, the week after that, whatever. So why don't you do this? I'm trying to think of a way to make this organized. It's just going to be a free-for-all. Okay, you guys, all rise and find, that's probably not healthy for that. Find the team that you want to at least kibitz with and kind of, as I say, workshop today with. And then I'd like to just, after you do that, then I'll take an accounting of who's here and which projects we're going to talk about. Does that make sense? Okay, go. And is everyone going to just jump over to Michael's side over there? Let me know. Okay, you're good? Okay, so let me do it this way. So Famous, you're going to actually follow up on which one do you want to talk about today? Luke? Yeah. Okay, so Luke is over there with Famous. I guess food truck wrap in the corner pocket. Okay, does anyone want to be the team lead or the point person for any idea? Just actually identify yourselves.
I want to do Smart Urban.
Oh yeah, so which one is that on the list? Oh yeah, right up there. So Spark is also active today. Actually, here's what I'll do. I'll just highlight these in yellow. So these are your choices today.
I want to do mine. Sorry about that.
Oh,
I think the first 4.
oh yeah. Okay. Oh wait, let's see. Don't mind me. And okay, so any other ideas that you want to start the work of talking about how to build a proof of concept demo? Okay, so how about you guys? Where to? You, Michael, Famous, Talis, or David? So Lou? Famous? Okay. Yeah, so you guys kind of coalesce over there. So Carolyn's out, David's bailing on you, for today at least. Lou's over there, Conley's over there. So, okay, so I actually didn't think this part through. So I guess, yeah, so you may have teams of 1 for today, which actually might be the most, productive anyway out of, having to get together with, and talk with other people. So it's a good day for introverts. Let's see. Oh, wait. Oh, are you seeing this? Oh, yeah, okay. You guys maybe are looking at the sheet. I didn't realize I wasn't projecting on the screen behind me, so whatever. Let me get back there. Okay, Teams. So what you need to do is today, just for a few minutes, I'll time it out as when we need to start. You need to basically blow some Google Doc, whether you'd use a document or some slides, it doesn't really matter. We just need to start the ball rolling in terms of writing down these things. So basically, I just need some document to put on here for each team. Let's see. Let me just. Oh, and by the way, make sure you share it with rcostin@gmail.com. That's always a point of contention here because I don't have a university Gmail-based account. So you got to use my personal Gmail account. So do whatever you create, share it with rcostin@gmail. Let's see, review the idea, decide what needs to be approved. Basically what I'm asking you to do is just make a list of what technologies would be a showstopper if you don't do it or it isn't done well. So examples of that would be a database might be a concern. Actually that should, if your idea requires some kind of storage of data, then building a database should be on your list. Or maybe some software to process something. I don't know, I'm trying to think of a good example. But yeah, whatever the idea is, the technology that you need needs to be listed out. Very simple, it doesn't have to be a very long list. I'm thinking maybe about 2 or 3 or maybe 3 or 4 things. And then in terms of skills, then you also have to list out maybe on a different slide or a different sheet or a different section so we can review it together. The courses, skills, experience that everyone has in your team, even if it's a team of 1. Basically list out your technical skills and think of courses that you've taken in terms of things that you're supposed to know because you took a course in it, damn it. Any marketing or promotion experience that you have or have done, again, related to either clubs or courses you've taken or just anything that you bring to the party. And anything. And again, so what I'm looking for is a separate list, one for each person, basically enumerating anything that might be pertinent. Or helpful in the development of this proof of concept. And then the third thing, which would be another list, is basically something that is based on what was previously written by the originator last week. So the originator went to those slides there that are linked on that other sheet. Actually, if you click on the links on the left, it'll take you to that other shared document. And there you can see somewhere either in the slide or in the notes where the originator started thinking in terms of what would be required. So copy that stuff out and again, make another list. It's what I would call the skills assessment. What would it take to build this? And then list out the technology, the skills, anything, money that might be needed, the stuff that you started to work on last time. And obviously where we're going with this stuff is you're going to look at your people, you're going to look at the skills that they have and the skills that you need. And then last step of this is we're going to prepare then we'll talk about next week. Actually, I'll come back to this on the other side, where actually then I want you guys to go off into the world and actually start trying to pull something, and then we'll talk about it next week in terms of what you actually were able to accomplish. And also, if something just crapped the bed totally, then we'll talk about that too next week. So, since a couple of you just walked in, just real quickly, if you would, let me bail out of this and get back to... We started off talking about this sheet right here, which we started last week. The ones highlighted in yellow there are ones that people have decided to coalesce around and start talking about. So you have to make a decision in terms of what project idea that you want to build a proof of concept. So even though this is not set in stone, you have to pick one for today and meet with other people who are also interested in talking about it. So right now we have Michael in the corner there with his cadre there. Luke, yes, Luke, I think Star Wars, Luke is over there with Famous, and Lou's sitting with him, and David's over here, ready to start working on Spark. Talis, the Virtual Zen for Children with Disabilities group over there, and I'm sorry, what was? Oh, you're also with Luke? Okay, and so for you guys, you can either spearhead your own, and it's okay to be a team of one for today, or temporarily join one of these other existing groups. Can you make a quick decision on which way you want to go for today? Okay, for which one? Okay. Oh. And Gerardo?
I think I'll try to experiment myself.
Okay, let's see. Which one? The classroom? Okay. So I'll mark that as active. Okay, so then I've got my slides there, which basically you walked in while I was going through this about step one. Okay, you've broken into teams, and if you will, basically create a list, a shared document, and I think I beat it to death there. Take a look. This is what you need to just come up with, even if you're working by yourself. The skills assessment, actually let me summarize it. So we'll review the idea, list what technologies are important to do your idea. And again, it's just a kind of spitball of the technologies, and this is kind of based on what you started last week. And then based on who you're meeting with today, list out everyone by name and just start doing an inventory of skills. And as I was saying before, and I think you heard this part, think in terms of courses, clubs you've been a part of, anything that might be pertinent. List those things out, and then also list out the skills assessment thing. And then when we get back in, I'll basically have you guys spend. Where the hell's my phone? Yeah, no, it's just one of those things. Or maybe I should still be on the Sudafed. That was working actually pretty good for me last week. Anyway, cheers. Let's say at 11:05, I'll just check in with you guys to see how you're doing. And then we'll toggle over and start presenting to each other our skills, our assessments. And then we'll start talking about what we're going to do with this stuff before next week. So, is that enough information?
What do you mean by proof of concept? Like, do we need like a prototype, like a mock-up?
Yeah, it's actually even less than that, less than a prototype, less than a mock-up. It's basically you're just nitpicking on the skills that you're not sure that the things, or actually the parts of the idea which you're not sure you can actually build. And then you're going to try to build them, is basically, to see, how hard it is. And the bigger picture of this whole thing, by the way, is so you don't get to next year, or in the fall, and actually you pick some of these ideas like that. So maybe some of these ideas that we're talking about, you're going to actually, follow through with in the fall, and then you find out then, oh, holy shit, this is a big deal. Yeah, let's not wait till then. Let's figure it out now. What actually is a big deal, and which is something like, okay, I've never done it before, never done it before, but yeah, we can do this. So yeah, flesh that stuff out. And I guess I'll put on some dialing music while you think about that. Ask me any questions like that, for clarification in case it's too ambiguous, because again, I have no idea how how well I'm explaining anything at this point this morning. Proceed. How's it going back there? Are you done? Okay. Yes. Okay, so which actually, oh, by the way, you can see these slides, oh, where the hell is, in Slack, in our course documentation, basically up at the top, there's our course documentation link, which goes here. So I'm back to using this.
This still works. Yay.
treatment. But, it's okay. Got, again, just a basic idea, because I'm going to ask you guys just to throw it up on the screen here, just review it, so we can all kind of have just a glimpse into what everyone else is thinking. It's okay? Okay.
like how it's asking the question. I'm saying and so yeah, like people like the voice are free. If the activity itself can be like more inherent and really good compass. So let's go with that. Like you can like me right now, so like just like get comfortable. It's like you know, I think it'll make you like kind of like use templates like presence or correct outlines. Yeah. So we have learning concepts. So like the first six selection I yeah, I don't think that like there would be like curated sort of thing where everybody just keeps stuff like quite substitute. When you draw me something, when it's slides. And I think even though like that's weird, but the user screen concept also is the one that's actually doing. Yeah, no, exactly. This is the real principle of that. Yeah. Because you can get out but I think like I think if you think like that, you know, like how where the cost comes from. You should put all the
Okay.
Yeah, we have this. I think you could do like multiple like colors. These are to really like just write their own or just their own decisions. There's like a see like oh like how can you do this like and you get more or it's just your so if you're on vision not necessarily musicians. I mean, usually musicians are the most like obvious points to there's a lot of ways you can go.
Okay. You guys need more time, or?
I mean, we basically have it.
Yeah, just like
Okay.
just like breaks, like yeah, just stuff.
Okay.
Like, if you said you cut us off,
Yeah, no, yeah, a couple minutes. Let me get a temperature read here. Excuse me, famous? Famous.
Famous.
Excuse me. Yes. Do you guys need a few more minutes, or will you have something to present? Talk, but not present. Discuss. Okay. Okay. You guys back there, Michael? You guys and Gerardo?
Yeah, I'm just like doing research right now.
Okay. And excuse me, tell us. Would you guys have something to discuss if we jump into it? Start now, or do you need a few more minutes? Okay, sure. Go on. Carry on. Okay. Excuse me. If you guys are ready. I got a document from the food truck people. Yeah, if you would share it with rcostin@gmail.com. And then what I figured I'll do, if you do that, I'll just blow it on the screen here. And then it's not so much a presentation, just a starter discussion. So, Okay. Yep.
Wait, it's rcossin@gmail.
Yep. So, yep, thanks, they're coming in. Okay, so, yeah, I didn't really mean a presentation or anything formal like that, just a discussion, again, just so we can make some, kind of draw lines in the sand, so to speak. So we have our own marching orders for what we're going to do for next week when we get back together. Let's see, now, based on how much time we have left and the fact that we got 5 ideas in the mix right now, that doesn't leave much time. So what I'm going to do is go around quickly, just to make sure we touch on all of them at least once, and then we'll cycle back and talk longer as we have, because basically I only have, if it's even, 5 minutes per team, which is not really enough to get much of a discussion. So let's just make sure we get all the basics. I'll start simply because, I don't know, for no apparent reason. We'll start with the food truck app. Again, just a quick overview of, if you would, what are your biggest concerns here? In terms of what you got versus what you think. Actually, let's jump right to the chase. What parts of the idea, the food truck app, do you want to actually do the proof of concept around? Does that make sense? Let me try asking the question. Actually, someone else asked, help me out here. It's like, so the idea is that you're going to have to start building something. Hopefully, maybe get, I have no idea if it's something that's achievable next week, or at least get the start of something by next week. But it's, again, the idea is to build something to prove to you that if this actually goes into something you work on next fall, that there's not going to be any roadblocks or surprises. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm going to throw this down here to you.
Cash.
Whoever wants to talk about it, go ahead.
I feel like we would have to start with the mapping component or the application itself, so we could figure out, so rather than the e-commerce component or the receipt printer or some of the hardware stuff, focus more on the software component. So the app itself and an accurate mapping system.
Wait a minute. Why is Carolyn the team lead? Okay, we'll go with that. So, I'm sorry, what did you say, the GPS part or the?
Yeah, so the actual core mapping features.
The mapping feature,
We
yeah.
have to explore both how to what? Okay. We would have an ability to track and locate the trucks itself. So figuring out how to do that, as well as having your phone be able to access the map.
Right, okay.
So having a database of trucks being accessed by the map, if that makes sense.
Well, it sounds like, actually, that would be 2 things. So a database of the trucks, and then also to be able to map their current location at any given time whenever they're active or something like that. And the ability to actually put that and some interface that's what you're talking about, if I
Yeah.
understand it right.
Yep.
Okay, so for that, if that's, actually just focus on that just for a second, then we can talk about, oh, great, so, yeah, there's, you got some skills there, we'll cycle back and talk about that, but actually maybe that's the best thing to focus on in the beginning here as I go around. Let's just, for each team, just highlight the one thing that really makes you wonder, it's I don't know if we can do that. Okay, so hold that thought, let me change gears to, let's see, we'll go to David. And if you want, just throw that, just pitch it. Don't do that. I'm totally kidding.
I'd be so impressed.
Yeah.
Even if you ask us
Actually, for that microphone, I mean, it's got some heft to it.
Sorry about our computers.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right, so for Spark,
Yeah.
And actually, refresh my memory. What was?
So
what was-
Spark's the creative prompt idea where you have daily, weekly, or monthly prompts where creative people can like put up onto a forum. Yeah. So basically, the essential technologies are just like a forum that can support various file types. So like if you have a movie or any kind of image, and then just like a neatly organized website. I think the technology behind Spark is kind of basic, which is fine because
Yeah, that's
that's perfectly okay.
very good.
We have, basic web design, sound design, writing, graphic design. Adrian knows videography and animation. So that I feel like that's sort of less important for the concept. And there's like a whole like couple of paragraphs. But basically, for me, the more important
Yeah.
tester of if the idea works is just like if the activity itself is enjoyable to do. I think a more valuable trial run would just be like almost like a focus group where you get 5 artists and you say like, hey, like we're gonna have these problems for like a week, and you can like try posting some up and put them all in the same Google Docs so everyone can see what everyone else has done. And
Let's focus more on the technology, because
Sure.
it will be an issue, seeing how people operate
Yeah.
and their workflow and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But maybe I didn't make it clear. It's like, the biggest concern I have, because this is what we've
Yeah.
seen in prior capstone years, is the brick wall is the technology.
yeah.
So when you say a neatly organized website, that could mean a lot of things.
Yeah, for sure.
There would be a database component to it, because a
Fair enough.
website in itself is simply static HTML, CSS,
Yeah.
and JavaScript.
But you're putting everything up
You need to
on.
put all this uploaded media into
Yeah.
something. So don't forget, you might want to add that is a web database, or just database, would actually be that. And so then the thing is, between at least the two of you kibitzing for a few minutes, what do you got? What skills? Actually, if you could list it out by person.
Oh, I mean, the only one that was unique to either of us was the videography part, which is AJ.
the rest of the stuff.
Yeah.
Oh,
Those
okay.
are all just like basic like EMS type.
Yep, okay. Okay, so, that's what you do, in terms of actually building it. Would that, actually storing video files online, actually, here's a question. Would you use, leverage existing third-party things like YouTube or other existing platforms and bring it together, or would you actually be having people upload to your own server their media files? Or is that still up in the air?
That's, yeah, I don't know if you have a.
I personally feel like having it be its own thing would like just be a lot more smooth, and I guess the word is credible, because I feel like it'd be weird to show up and like it's just like a YouTube link to the thing. Like then that might as well just be a forum on Reddit or something where they ask this question.
That's right, you're right.
Like something unique to it, I think would be like
Yeah.
the video player, like a sound player or something.
Okay, so that would be, in my mind, I'm kind of convinced as well, is that being able to have a platform that could host a lot of media might be, the big ticket items. If you could prove to yourself that, we could do this, then you can do this. And then the rest of it is, well, the devil will be in the details of actually building the website, but that's what you do next year. So, okay, any other like major things or concerns, or does that really, encompass it all?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. Okay, so let's see, let me toss it back to Sarah and Tara and Alice. Let's see. Thank you for the microphone delivery.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Okay, so the idea was, what was it called?
Virtual Zen, I didn't put a title on it, sorry.
Yes, okay. So, just at this point, just focusing on the big ticket item that really kind of makes you wonder, like, I don't know.
I think the hardest thing would probably be, I want you to be able to, like, if you are on this, to be able to, like, interact with other people through, so like kind of like it's like a virtual classroom environment kind of thing, and being able to interact with other people, and then ideally having like a teacher view where the teacher can like also like look in on what the students are doing. So I think the hardest thing would be figuring out if the video game software that I'm looking at in doing it can support that. And then also just kind of like what would go into that, I think would probably be the hardest thing to figure out.
So this might be jumping ahead a bit, but are you thinking of a web-based front end or apps or software?
Yeah, I was thinking of software, but that's what I would have to look into. Like, would that be possible to do through the software? Because I know that like Unreal, for example, you can load through Steam and then you can interact through Steam and do stuff like that. I don't know. The software I was looking at and doing it in, just because it's an easier software, is Game Maker Studio. I don't know if they have capabilities for that.
Yeah.
So that would be something I'd have to look into that could possibly change the plan.
Yep. Actually, that's a pretty good problem to have, because most of what you're going to do is try to leverage existing platforms, and the trick is which one should you use, you know, and can you find one that actually fits the bill, as opposed to coding something from scratch?
Yeah.
Which by the way has always been for a lot of capstone projects throughout this last couple of years, has always been my biggest concern, is that so many ideas are totally, I mean, it's a double-edged sword. It's like you want something totally new and fresh, you know, a new idea, but that means coding. That's more computer science of actually writing software, as opposed to something where you're bringing together, you know, in a creative way, existing things that no one thought of actually doing in a particular way before. And one way is, I don't know, there's trade-offs, you know what I mean?
And Sarah was talking about how like Google Classroom exists that like students can sign into. So we were talking about that. We can look at that too to kind of see what they're doing or how that functions, and see if there's like similar functionality we could kind of like imitate in our own program.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like you could, based on my experience of what I've seen other classes do over the past couple of years, is some of the most successful ones where they actually accomplished what they set out to do were the ones where they leveraged existing platforms to, like I just said, cobble it together in a way that no one thought of before, as opposed to writing and coding things from scratch, which usually it's like, oh, we got like 75% of the way here, then we hit a brick wall. So that's pretty intriguing, especially now that you're already starting to think in terms of I know Google Classroom, and I was actually playing with that a little bit, but yeah, that could be like a huge thing if it works out. That plus maybe some of the other ones kind of integrated, yeah, that could be pretty cool. Okay, let's see, back. So anyone else can share something? Rado? Or
Yeah, I can share. Yeah, so.
Do you have anything I could blow up here, or you just want to talk?
I didn't know that, like, I just wanted to, like, explain, or do you want me to, like, upload, like, a
Oh, if there's something to look at, but it would be good at some point to have something that we could refer to next week.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So yeah,
Yeah,
put
so I
something
can just,
together.
like, I can explain to you, and then
Yeah, okay.
I can. So I think that like the biggest like challenge is that I think that I have like a lot of like, you know, user experience research, and I feel that I can like, you know, go and do interviews and compile the results and come up with like some cool insights on how the current like systems are failing. Like,
Okay, just to make sure we're all on the same page, we're talking about the classroom, learning management system, or just that idea.
And yeah, so I mean, I think that I can like really like go up all the way until the prototype phase, and perhaps like code something on like very rudimentary, but yeah, I think that like definitely like the biggest challenge would be like the technical counterpart.
What technologies do you think would be required? Obviously, well, actually, I shouldn't say. I was going to say like a web interface, but actually not necessarily so. But in terms of technologies, I mean, this would be a computer-based learning management system, What technologies when you get to that point will you need is actually what we need to actually get a list of.
Yeah. Well, I think that databases would be. I mean, that's a lot of like, a lot of like. Essentially, it's like a directory of documents
Right.
that need to like be tracked and be accessible and all of that. So I think that would be like the biggest challenge. But yeah, I mean, what other technologies do you think that like this like?
Well, I was assuming web-based.
Yeah.
But, okay, so so obviously the web front end, so HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and the database to basically hold the information. And actually the key to this is actually, I mean, above and beyond the technology, the challenge is the interface, the workflow.
Yeah.
Getting people to, use something that actually makes sense as opposed to, as we talked about last time, the stuff that that everyone struggles with. So really the bar is kind of low from a technology standpoint, which is good because, but it's still, at the end of the day, you need to be able to build a website with a back-end database.
Yeah.
Do you have that?
No, I do not have that. So I think that's like, and I think that in one, like, what was the advanced from development class? That's the part where I struggle the most.
Yeah.
But I think that, I do have like the skill set to like go and like do the interviews and do the user research and like,
Oh, yeah.
transform that into like a cohesive prototype. But yeah, as you said, like I think that like here, like the challenge is like the workflow and making, like what Trello did for like, task management or what like.
Yeah, take a look at what's done, where do people, where do these existing systems like Blackboard and all the other ones that I'm personally very familiar with, where do people just like, hit a brick wall with these things?
No, and actually I compiled like a list of questions that I would like ask people. So I think that like the three stakeholders in this problem are administrators, teachers, and students.
Yeah.
And both like those three parties like have like different priorities and needs. So let me pull them up. Yeah, I was just thinking about this the other day, and I was like, oh, I'll okay, I cannot find that Google Docs, but I mean, I guess like the main idea is like I have like preconceived notions of why people go to Blackboard, and I have it here. Hold up. So, what is the most recurring task you log in Blackboard for? What do you think about Blackboard? How do professors communicate with you? So that's for like the student side, and for the faculty side, do you log into Blackboard every day? What is the most common thing you use Blackboard for? What are some of the biggest issues you face with the grading system? On a scale of 1 to 5, how satisfied are you with Blackboard? And then going to IT and asking them what is the most common ticket they get about Blackboard. Because there's like a hotline for professors, I've heard.
Yeah.
For, there, like I guess like, humanities professors are not very familiar with with the platform. So yeah, I mean, I think that would be like the...
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, that would be, I mean, obviously doable. I mean, because that's just.
Yeah, it's not like, I mean, it's
that's
just like
legwork.
the innovation happens in the user experience research, not in the technology counterpart.
But still, it is the technology
Yeah.
we're talking about.
That is
today.
like, yeah. It's like,
Okay. So that's good. Hold that thought. And like I said, it would be good to
Yeah,
get
let me add
something
that right now.
documented.
Definitely.
So we can cycle back next week. Luke, the power of the dark side is.
Concept demo ready. I can look up the thing.
Oh, yes.
Hello. Yes.
You actually have something to roll.
Yes. If I could use your.
You want to
Yeah.
HDMI or?
Sure. That
I'll just throw that.
works for me.
Actually, There you go, you can take that. How much?
Yeah, I don't know that thing.
What, oh, the USB-C?
Yes.
Do you have USB-C on that? Probably not.
Well, never mind then.
Oh, okay.
There's no way to
Yeah.
connect. Oh, that makes me
That's
sad.
interesting, I see that.
Yes. That makes me sad. I kind of wish.
That looks very cool.
Well, okay. I guess I'll just explain the stuff then.
Okay. So yeah, why don't you, yeah, okay, so, what is it doing?
It was not. So if you guys like want to see, there is like a little demo on my laptop currently. So right now it's just a bunch of particles moving around in a cool pattern. Essentially what the application that we're creating would do is that this would be the standard interface that you would just log into. Each node is a different person. Depending on your interactions within the group, your node will grow, shrink, move faster, move slower. It's a colorful, fun way to track your performance of group communication. And it's reflective of like what you've been posting on social media. So like it shows your personality in a way that's non-threatening and can kind of control the group just by a fun picture.
Yeah. Now the concept is actually perfect digital media, study type of thing. It just kind of makes you think. It's kind of hypnotizing.
It is.
And if you actually tie meaning behind the movement and the size and the color, yeah, that I could see people getting kind of drawn into that. So the key thing though is. What would be driving the shape, size, color movement?
So what we're driving the stuff is right now it's either IBM Watson Tone Analyzer or Luke software. It analyzes the tone of a sentence or a post depending on what you give it and gives certain percentages of like happiness, sadness, anger, love, different emotions. And all we would have to do is just tag those different emotions to different numerical values to increase or decrease.
Okay.
So it would be subjective in which way we represent it, but as long as we're consistent, that would be the meaning that it would give it.
Okay, so I don't know, right as you're describing it, I'm thinking of two possible areas of difficulty, but what areas of concern do you guys have?
I was thinking connecting it would be kind of difficult. It's been done before in the lab I work in. It's a bit of a pain to do. Also for IBM Watson, it only allows a certain amount of pings per month that are free. Luke is free always, but it's hard to implement. So it is feasible. It's just getting it to run constantly would be a bit of an issue unless you pay for the subscription.
Depending on your progress, or if you could do actually. This more than any of the ones we've talked about so far, it's like a proof of concept would be really important because that way, if you could say, it's like, here's what we could do, but we're limited because, free, give us money, the proof of concept would actually be used for that, to actually say, it's like, okay, so if you want to work on this in as far as your regular capstone next year, is that you can get the money as long as you can prove that you can at least take it just so far. And then how much do you have any idea how much it might be to get like more access to Watson?
It would be pretty cheap since it's just a personal, it's an academic project, but just like a few people, so maybe at most I'd say $100 and that's pushing like the limit, like it's probably like 20 maybe.
Oh yeah, I think the university could cover that.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I don't know, it's, money's tight. But yeah, no, not that tight. So in my mind, I see two things. Is number one, the API to actually get the stream of data.
Yes.
In my mind, it's like I know nothing about it, and of course, what like with most people, like what you know nothing about scares you the most.
So Facebook and Twitter do have APIs. I can't think of what the software is called. I've used it.
They've branded it with names and stuff, but yeah.
Yes, and there's like a platform software that connects APIs from multiple social media sites that I found in SA 151, but I can't think of what it was called. But I'll just ask the professor again what it was. But again, so I can't access it. It's the same problem though. Like they allow a certain amount of pings. So
that's number one in my mind. this is actually something you could work on. It's like, okay, so get something, and actually use an API, and actually get a feed. And the feed is literally just a string of data.
Yep.
The other part number 2 in my mind is like, okay, so once you get a string of data, can you turn it into little bouncing something on an interface? You know, that's an algorithm, and that's going to be software. Although not terribly complicated, it is still something that you need to prove.
Yes, I'm confident that that can be done within our group.
Aha.
I've done it before partly, and I've confidence that I can do it again.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No, that's good. So yeah, this looks like, if I may say, like a classic. Even though there is no such thing as a classic DMS capstone, I mean, it is definitely digital. You're talking about media. It's a study, not necessarily a product, which could evolve into something that's monetizable, but that's not supposed to be our focus at this point. And there are 2 big challenges: is actually getting the feed of data, and then structuring the feed of data and turning it into something, into some other media. Classic DMS. So yeah, no, that's good.
Cool.
Okay, I'm going to change gears a little bit here because, wait, I covered all? Yeah, we talked about all 5, right? Okay, so the idea here in the time that we have left, yeah, we got some time, is actually make some commitments to, all right, so what are we going to do next week? Actually, this is interesting because I really had no idea, like, what you guys, would come up with and choose to, talk about this week. It is really a pretty broad spectrum, so actually I'm not sure how this is going to work, but the idea here is by next week, I do want to kind of call you on the carpet to actually do more of a formal presentation as opposed to what we just did, and actually put together a couple slides and actually show some, or at least the beginnings of some of the technology. So, Gerardo, the technology part is the focus. Is there anyone you can work with, or, I mean, there were actually with, no one else signed up yet to pitch in on that, but if you could kind of coerce someone to actually just put together a basic web front end with a back end database, I can actually provide the web tools, because that's my thing, and the back end database, but someone just needs to cobble together something that looks like there. We have a web front end, we have a database, we could start structuring it, and that would be a proof of concept. For next week?
Oh, okay.
I guess, and here's the thing, it's like, so like, what can you possibly do in 1 week? Well, if nothing else, and this is, I guess, for everyone I'm saying this, is if nothing else, at least start on a plan of how you're going to get there. So for some of you, like maybe like for the Luke idea, actually pull some Facebook data and show us the data feed. And maybe even take it a step, I mean, how much time you got in 1 week, I don't know, but as much as you can, if from a technology standpoint, is what we're looking for next week. And if not, and if like you totally hit a brick wall, then I kind of need you to present what was the brick wall. It's like, hopefully it's not something as like, oh, I couldn't find anyone to help me. That's kind of your job, is to get, start pulling together a team to get to the point where you can say, this is the technology we're going to need, and here's the inkling, the first steps of actually, proving to ourselves that, yeah, we can this can be tackled. So for the food truck, you guys.
Well, I think I'm gonna change. Like, I think it's just not realistic to do it by myself. So I'll just add myself to favorites.
Oh, okay. There you go. Actually, yeah, that's the ephemeral nature of this is actually important. That keeping in mind that you can continue to evolve your thinking on what you want to do and what you want to work on. So that's fine. For food truck, what did we talk about? Just the GPS or the map tracking. To the degree is that you guys can pull together something and actually show it, like here we got a feed from. I have no idea how this stuff works, But like, here's a Google map, and because Google Maps actually has an interface you could use, I've never actually played with it, where you could bring up your own map and actually overlay it with your own data. Yeah.
But there's also a thing directly through Swift.
I'm sorry?
There's a way to do it directly through Swift too.
Oh, even better. So something, yeah, directly through Swift. Something like that would actually be the first step to showing it's like, yeah, we got this. So again, if you can actually show us something next Friday, that'd be great. And if not, then show us where you're making progress toward it. And I guess my job is going to be continuously bugging you guys to like, show me something, show me what you got. Does anyone get that reference? Yes. Yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah. No more Rick and Morty fans?
I'm just waiting for the next season.
I know.
Like all the fans are terrible, so you don't really associate with them.
You're right, yeah. Yeah. No, I can only agree.
Like when Jordan fan is just like absolutely insane and ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it's still a great show. It is.
It is the greatest show, but that is a good point. I just personally relate to Jerry. I feel like I am Jerry. Yeah, which doesn't say much, which is like some self-shade, but anywho, you guys, let's see, what we talked? Would just, the software, something to cobble together.
That's what we're thinking.
Yeah.
Sarah's going to do research in Google Classroom and other kind of classroom-like things, and just to see like what we could pull from there, if we can tie into that. And then I'm going to look at softwares, like actual game software we could use, and hopefully try to do some kind of like demo interaction thing, just to be like, interaction, you can do it, here's how it works.
Yeah, and by the way, if you totally, again, I keep using the word brick wall. If you hit a brick wall, we need to know about that too. Like, okay, we tried to integrate two things and they don't want to talk to each other. Even that kind of story is very useful, and that's something we could talk about next week. And I don't know, for Spark, I don't know, get my brain just got, what did we just talk about?
Making a form that you post multiple.
Oh yeah, the video, or not video, media, being able to store video on a server. Now, again, by the way, for anything web related, I'm your go-to guy. I have all the servers up and running and create another account, build another database, but to use that stuff, yeah, to the degree that you guys can, that'd be awesome. By the way, you guys definitely should be able to do that. Yeah. Now the trick is actually one thing you can also look into, hopefully for next week or soon, is talk about bandwidth capabilities, because I'm shelling money out for Bluehost, which is considered a discount hosting company, which means that the service that I'm using that I would provide to you would definitely not be okay with hosting terabytes of media.
We can definitely limit it to lower data.
Oh no, I think the thing to do would be find out how much you need to kind of do a forecasting model in terms of how much space and two things, space and bandwidth would be required to do to support 100 users, to support 1,000 users. 1 million users would require how many gigabytes per month, or terabytes per month of bandwidth, and also storage space. That's more of a math exercise, but that kind of stuff, then you go and look at other hosting companies and start looking at the costs of that kind of stuff. So you get other companies like Media Temple is one, or actually Amazon actually does a lot of hosting in, what's their product, or just the Amazon Cloud or whatever they call it. I've never used it, but I know for major corporations and big time applications, they send them tons of money to have unlimited bandwidth, and really what it comes down to is, you got to kind of crunch those numbers. So whether it's next week or at least get the beginnings of that next week, that'd probably be a good thing to get started with. Does everyone understand? And that I will kind of be going, among you guys for the, I guess what would be 4 ideas. We'll go through one at a time, spend maybe 15 minutes talking about and looking at whatever it is that you are able to put together for then. We'll do that next week. And along the way, let me know if you have any questions. And yes, questions?
So is there a submission that we, because everything's in the group, so what exactly are we submitting? We just bring something?
Oh, yeah, there's nothing, nothing formal like that, nothing to submit per se, because, I mean, really, the ideas are all over the place. So literally, it's just be here, someone be here, and stand up here and go blah, 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 and show us what you got. Okay. And have a nice day, have a nice weekend. But again, if you have questions as you go, absolutely, please contact me, use Slack. I'll get right back to you as fast as I can by Slack. All right, peace out.